It's a matter of faith in who he is. It's a matter of trusting in what he says. You can be free again, but you have to believe.
Hey guys, welcome back to Monday Night New Heart. It's a new year. It's time to stop going around in bondage and head into God's promises.
I want to start tonight by just talking a little bit about the journey of 2019 for me. And I'm sure that you could all kind of give us the same rundown of your 2019. And that's, it just seems like as humans, we have this habit if we want to look back at the end of something, at the end of a football season, at the end of a school year, at just the end of a year, whatever, we want to look back. And I always like to look back, I've learned to anyways, look back and just really look at the things that were good, that were positive, the things where I grew, the things where I had success. Surely I got to learn from failures and I got to grow and from things where I don't do good. But when I look back, I really would rather look back on the things that were good, that were positive, things where I moved forward in an area of my life. And I like to celebrate those. And for me, 2019, there's a lot of those, but one that was really good was just growing in my faith in God for the house itself. For New Heart Place is the house that I'm referring to. It's a men's recovery home. And just growing in my faith for God's provision, for guys to come in, for things that we needed at the house. And And it just turned out that as I grew in that this year, God did amazing things this year that I had actually kind of been waiting for it to happen for a long time and had maybe even gotten a little disappointed thinking that it wasn't going to happen. Like having a full house. I've been waiting for a long time for New Heart Place to be this full. And during the different times over the years, I've probably gotten a little bit discouraged that it wasn't going to happen. Maybe even to the point of being disappointed. And I kind of rode that bus for a while, if you will, of being disappointed with God because some things like that hadn't happened. But this year the journey was different. I kind of made a commitment at the beginning of the year. I still remember that I'm just going to trust you for things, God, instead of being in woe over things and just kind of being negative about things. I'm just going to trust in you, God. And as I did that more and more throughout the year, God did more and more things that I'd been waiting for a long time for God to do. And so I look back at the journey of 2019 as a lot of things that I've been waiting for a long time came to be in 2019. This is what's crazy. One of the things I've always labored over in my prayer is coaches for the guys. Because we tell each guy, when you do New Heart Place, you're going to have a coach all the way through the program. This guy's going to walk side by side with you. He's going to be your personal mentor. He's going to love on you like a big brother. And we've struggled throughout the history. I'm just being transparent with you guys. I hope nobody takes this the wrong way. But we've struggled throughout the history of New Heart Place with having coaches for the guys for the whole program. You want to find good men, quality men that won't steer them in the wrong way, that will stick to what we're teaching. So we're very careful about our coaches. Well, lo and behold, we have 10 guys, and when every guy but one has a coach right now. Every guy but one. I've had times where there was 4 guys in the house and I couldn't get coaches for 2 of them. We have 10 guys and every guy but one, and that guy's coach is coming tomorrow, I believe it. He's coming tomorrow. And every guy will have a coach. So I'm just looking back at 2019. I'm going, man, you're awesome, God. You took what I let turn into discouragement and despair maybe, and maybe even disappointment. You timed it just right to where it became something awesome, a year of just my faith in you being deepened, my strength and my boldness and confidence to walk in you was strengthened in just amazing ways this year. And I think about, the journey ahead, which I'm sure many of you are doing this week too. 2020, what's that going to be like? What's that going to bring? And I have, just like you, some dreams and some ideas and some things I would like to see happen, just like I do every year. But again, I'm finally learning a few things as I get a little bit older. And that is, it's okay to have these things, but to really just ask the Lord what he wants for 2020. So I've been spending a lot of the holiday time just kind of going there with the Lord. What do you want? Can you give me something to write down? I'll even sit with a pad and a pen in my hand when I pray. Can you give me just something to write down, Lord? 2020, what do you have for me? And really, he hasn't given me anything specific yet to write down, but hey, there's still another day or two, right? So he could give me something yet. But what he has given me is a sense of, and I know this might sound a little bit of a cop-out to some of you, that, you know what I told you to do before? Just keep doing that, because look how it's going. Just keep doing what I've told you to do. Oh yeah, there'll be new adventures, new guys this year, new struggles and things to deal with each guy this year. It'll be different in that way. But just keep doing what I told you to do. So that's what I see in 2020. Another banner year, another prosperous year, another year of just continuing to do the Lord's work and pouring into these guys' lives. And I think about you guys. You know, some of the journeys that some of you had in 2019, some of your journeys I was part of in a more intimate way than others, and I know some of your struggles very deeply. I've walked them with you and shared them with you. Some of you, I have no idea what 2019 was like for you. I had no idea. I have no idea what your thoughts are for 2020, what you're hoping for, what you're asking God for during that time. But tonight, I want to share the story of another journey from the Bible, all right? And after I share this journey with you, I'll explain to you why I shared it in regards to our journey that's coming up. So in the book of Deuteronomy, there's a passage in chapter 2, verse 3. Actually, chapter 2, verse 2. I'm going to read this verse, and then we're going to go back. We're going to work our way backwards. And in Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 2, that's in the Old Testament. It's one of those books we don't read all that often, but it's a great book. And it says this, "And the Lord spoke to me, saying, you have circled this mountain long enough, now turn north." I'm just going to read that part. You have circled this mountain long enough, now turn north. This is towards the end of a story of the Exodus, where the Israelites were freed from Egyptian slavery, and they were sent on a journey that by modern day standards, if you took this journey, would be a couple weeks. Okay? A couple weeks. It took them 40 years for this journey, almost 40 years. And I want to talk to you tonight about that journey of theirs. You know, definitely there's the doctrine and the theology behind the whole concept that God was building a nation. God was forging a people who would have his name on them. And so it took something to do that. It took a time in the wilderness. It took a lot of trials and struggles to do this. And that took some time. It took some time. So that's definitely part of the explanation, if you will, the context, if you will, of this journey. And I'm not trying to belittle that or make that less than it is in the story here. But there's also a lot of stuff that went on in the hearts of the Israelites who were on that journey. You see, there's a really sad backstory to that journey. Not one man who was of fighting age when they left Egypt survived that journey except for Caleb and Joshua. Every other man who was of fighting age when they left Egypt was dead before they went into the promised land. And I want to talk to you tonight about why. Okay? See, God definitely had a work to do in them on that journey. He definitely had a work to do in them. And the work was going to be done on that journey, and that made the journey a little longer. But before the passage in Deuteronomy 2, as we read about the trip of the Israelites, the journey, the wandering in the wilderness, all of the things that happen, there's a lot of grumbling. There's a lot of complaining. There's a lot of negative stuff. There's not a whole lot of positive stuff going on. Okay? It was kind of like they weren't really making up any ground. They weren't really going anywhere. What's the story? They were just going around in circles. They weren't really getting anywhere. They weren't getting it, is what we would say. After this comment in Deuteronomy 2, you have circled this mountain long enough, now turn north, the victories begin to come. Read the whole history. I'm not going to take you through it tonight, but the victories begin to come over the different. They go into the land and they begin to possess the land and they begin to take the land and they begin to have victories in their life. So why is this journey important to our journey that we're looking at tonight? Because all too often we approach a journey, or we even take this journey, we proceed into this journey the same way that the Israelites did, with a lot of grumbling, a lot of complaining, a lot of negativity, maybe even a lot of telling God how it should have been done. And I want to talk to you about how you're going to go into 2020 and what God has put before you for 2020. Here's some of the things that I believe were in the people's hearts in that journey that God was trying to deal with in them, okay? As they were on this journey that should have only taken 2 weeks and lasted almost 40 years. As a matter of fact, in case you're wondering where that reference comes from, it says, now that the time that it took for us to come from Kadesh Barnea until we crossed over the brook Zered was 38 years. Again, this is chapter 2, verse 14. Until all the generation of the men of war perished from within the camp, as the Lord had sworn to them. That's the reference I just made to you of all the men of fighting age died before they ever reached there. Over 38 years. Here's what was going on. Because I used to wonder, what was going on all that time? What was it that took that long to work out of them? Well, let me tell you. One of the things was disappointment. One of the things was disappointment. The people showed their disappointment openly. We should go back to Egypt where we at least had food. So there was disappointment going on along the way. There was some doubt going on along the way. There was some doubt going on along the way. You know, you just led us out here to die in the desert. This isn't really an answer. This isn't really freedom. You just led us out here to die in the desert. You ever have God ask you to do something hard, and when you get out there and start doing it, you feel like he kind of left you out there by yourself? That's what they were feeling. God called us to do something hard, and he just left us out here to die. There was some fear going on out there. The enemy's coming behind us. Remember the story? The Egyptians came after them. The Egyptians came after them. There was fear going on out there. Okay? Anybody dealing with fear tonight? Huh? Anybody dealing with fear? There was some ungratefulness going on out there. Huh? Ungratefulness. They're just marching around this mountain for 40 years, a whole bunch of this stuff going on. There's some ungratefulness. Where's that ungratefulness? What happened to my ungratefulness? All right, thank you, sir. All right. There was some jealousy going on out there. Remember that episode of, what, are you the only one that hears from God, Moses? We don't deal with that in our lives, though. We're not jealous of anybody. So this is going on while they're marching around the mountain and around the mountain. What else was going on? Did I say hopelessness? Did I already say that one? No. There was some hopelessness going on. They didn't understand that there was a future for them. All they saw was the desert before them. And they gave up hope. Some of them really quick right after they left. Gave up hope. And then some of them, as the years dragged on, they became hopeless. They gave up their hope. Some of them were dealing with shame. Anybody dealing with shame today? Is there anybody I haven't called out that I gave you a green paper to? Oh, why did I save that one for last? Unforgiveness. There was some unforgiveness going on out there in that desert for that 40 years. All this stuff was going on. And I have these people walking around because I really do want you to look at them. I want you to look at the paper they're holding up, because here's what I'm really talking to you about tonight. As we leave 2019, and we go into 2020, I want you to take a look at why sometimes it seems like we just keep going around in circles with the Lord. We've got an area where we want some healing, where we want breakthrough, where we want freedom, where we want revelation, where we want a new strength. But we've got these things swirling around in our life. We're walking around with one or any combination of these things in our life. And we're wondering, why do we got to keep wandering around in this desert? Now, here's the really dangerous thing about this, okay? You can get a little comfortable in your walk with the Lord, and you can think that me and God, we're okay. You know, God, He understands my situation. My situation's unique. God understands it. And here's what we can do. We can take this thing that we've been walking around with, and we can get tired of walking around the mountain, and we can just stop and camp there. We can just camp there. We can just stop and build our little tent, build our little campfire, put on some hot cocoa and stew, and get real comfortable there. We can just camp there. And here's the danger, folks. It is so real. I hope you don't forget this little illustration that your brothers and sisters did for you tonight. It is so real, the danger, that if we don't go into 2020 with the mindset of, I've been circling this mountain long enough. Listen, friends, you don't come here on a Monday night. We don't speak the truth of God to you so that you can just continue to walk around the mountain and be okay with that and grow comfortable with it. We don't do that. That's not why Jesus died on the cross. Jesus died on the cross that you might have victory and be free from these things. Would you please tear up your paper into however many pieces you choose? Just tear up your paper into however many pieces you choose. Jesus died on the cross that you could be free of these things. You don't have to go around the mountain anymore. 2020 doesn't just have to be another year where you just get by and those things are still just things that are going to happen in the future and I might get free of. I might have that victory someday. No, God says this is the time. As a matter of fact, He says right here, right now, tonight, if one of those signs just really pierced you, it just really cut to the core of where you've been walking through 2019. Maybe more than one, I don't know. Tonight is the night. There's a pile of little green notes back there, much smaller than theirs, and pens. I want you to write down if there is, and if it's one we didn't list that you're struggling with, whatever your struggle, write it down on that paper tonight, tear it up and throw it in the trash can. Sister Tina's holding it up to show you back there. Write it down, then tear it up and throw it in the trash can to symbolize that in 2020, you're not going to walk around that same mountain anymore. What we're going to do is what the Israelites did after this. We're actually going to turn north and go and take the promised land. Go into the land that God called victory. In other words, go into the land where there is no more addiction. Go into the land where there is no more fear, jealousy, doubt, unforgiveness, hopelessness. Come on, guys. We aren't here just to feel good about coming to a Monday night. We aren't here just to be encouraged, although that all happens. We're here to get free from some stuff. We're here to walk a new walk. Amen. Amen. Let's be free.
You've shown me